A social worker is seeing a client who describes growing discomfort with the man she is dating. The client is concerned about the man's excessive jealousy. He insists on spending all their time together, and he needs to make all the decisions. What should the social worker do next? A. Invite the client to bring the man into the sessions. That's going to assume that the client wants to stay in a relationship, so we probably don't want to do that. B. Explain that his behavior is characteristic of abusers. I think that will be the social worker possibly trying to influence the client's decision, like basically saying, okay, he's an abuser, you may not want to be in this relationship. We don't want the client to assume that that's what the social worker may be leading to as well. C, help the client decide how she wants to respond to this man. C is a good option, but let's see what D is. Explain why the client has trouble being assertive. D might be done later, but I don't think it would be the next step because when we're reading the stem, we want to do exactly what comes next. So in order to figure out what comes next, we have to figure out what has already been done. And as you read in here, it doesn't say anything about what the social worker has already done. It just basically lets you know about the client and what the client said. So I guess that means that we will have to start at the beginning with the social worker. And the first thing that we will want to do to start that off is to help the client decide how she wants to respond to this man. That's where you should start at. So C would be the correct answer because C supports the client in her decision-making process as well as self-determination. So here, the answer is C. A family is referred to a Child Protective Services Agency social worker because of child neglect. The mother is a single parent and has a substance abuse and gambling problem. She oftentimes leaves the children by themselves and does not see to routine medical care for them. The 12-year-old child frequently stays home from school to watch the younger children when the mother disappears. The social worker has already completed a psychosocial assessment. What should he do next? Okay, before we go to the answer choices, let's see what's going on directly in the STEM by breaking it down. So here we have a CPS services agency social worker that's working with a family that has been referred due to child neglect. Okay, so that's the first thing that we need to know. We need to know our role. So that means we are working for CPS. And the family has come to us due to child neglect. So the mother is a single parent. That may be noteworthy. And she has a substance abuse and a gambling problem. Okay. She oftentimes leaves the children by themselves and does not see to routine medical care for them. So I think that would be noteworthy as well. The 12-year-old child frequently stays home from school to watch the younger children when the mother disappears. Okay, the social worker has already completed a psychosocial assessment. What should he do next? Now, given the information in the STEM, we see that we have a single parent that's referred for neglecting her children. It's telling you all the ways that she has been neglecting her children. She leaves them by themselves. She does not see to their routine medical care. And the 12-year-old is missing a lot of school. All this because she has a substance abuse problem and a gambling problem. So they come in for services. The social worker completes the psychosocial assessment. The question wants to know, what should that social worker do next? So in answering this question, you always want to pay close attention to exactly what's labeled or what's noted before, So the social worker has already completed a psychosocial assessment. We probably want to deal right there when we're getting ready to review the answer choices to know what comes after the psychosocial assessment. So choice A, suggest that the mother receive substance abuse treatment. Possibly. Explore availability of community resources. That's also possible. I'm not sure if you would want to do that right after the psychosocial assessment, But let's continue with the options to C. C, refer the children for daycare services. Again, we're looking at what we want to do right after the psychosocial assessment in that session. Remember that we're keeping the sessions live. The client is right here in front of us. So what should we do next in that session after the psychosocial assessment? Option D, help the family identify service needs. Okay, so I think when we're using the elimination process, we're definitely going to first eliminate the exploration of availability for community resources, not because that's something that we won't do, but right after the psychosocial assessment, I think we need to deal with things that are a little bit more personal and will have a direct guaranteed impact first, something more specific. So can we refer the children for daycare services? Well, we need to see what else is going on. We see that they're not even getting medical care. So we know that medical is something that's very important as well. So we want to pay attention to that probably before we pay attention to their need for daycare services right away. All right, so that leaves us with suggest that the mother receive substance abuse treatment or help the family identify service needs. I know that this one gets a little tricky because when we see substance abuse treatment and we do say you always want to deal with that first, however, we have children involved and children are always the priority. So we always want to do what's best for the children in any given scenario, any given situation. We want to prioritize their safety first. So sending the mom to substance abuse treatment does not prioritize the children's safety first because she's a single parent, as we read here. So who's going to look after the kids? You know, we don't know any support systems or anything like that. So the most immediate thing that we can do next, right after the psychosocial assessment, is help the family identify service needs. And I think this answer encompasses all of this up here. We can help them identify substance abuse and substance abuse treatment, gambling treatment. We can also refer them for routine medical care, see what it is they may or may not need. We can also identify either daycare services or see what other support they have, maybe some family supports or anything else that can help them out. So you definitely want to zoom in on helping the family identify service needs. Due to the severity of the family's problems, the social worker must immediately identify the needs to help connect the families with the services that they may need.